Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Ramashram Satsang practice session, where you'll learn a modern Satsang method for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Eddie, and I will be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I'd like to give you a brief overview of the Satsang session. If you direct your attention towards your screen, you'll see the first element is Satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in our life. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin its practice. Satsang consists of two words, Sat and Sang. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word Satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important part of Satsang. When we meditate, we withdraw consciousness from worldly objects and direct it inwards to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, thereby allowing us to obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsang, inner satsang and outer satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior, but only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The satsang that you will learn today is an inner satsang where we meditate in silence. Group session. These practice sessions are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these practice sessions, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul. But only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in a state of joy, which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The agenda for today consists of 3 sessions: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a satsang topic, the founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, you receive instructions on how to meditate, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, you have the opportunity to ask questions or there'll be a panel discussion. And now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He's the grandson of Guru Maharaj, the founder of Ramashram Satsang. He was born into a satsang family where he experienced his family members obtain states of enlightenment and lead lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with the mission throughout India, facilitating satsangs. And during that time, he witnessed the positive effects that satsang could have on mankind. And upon arriving to the United States, both he and his wife continued to facilitate satsangs for local satsangees. He has led teams of satsang members in translating important satsang literature into English and has worked tirelessly to make satsang more accessible to Western and English-speaking audiences. He currently travels throughout the United States, India, and England, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So happy Tuesday, everyone. Every time Warren is is here, I feel better than excellent. And, glad that he's here with us in satsang, and we all are here in satsang. So today, I want to talk a little bit about inner peace and how, it and happiness. So I want to tie those two together a little bit. So I think I need to send out some communication, but basically what I've decided is that every month we'll take a theme and then topics within those themes throughout the month. So this month we talked about inner peace. Now, next month, we will talk about 5 steps to inner peace, or what the journey looks like, what are the milestones, and 5 of those that have been described in Upanishads long time back. But I have seen various different versions of that come out in several books recently. And people have talked about this Panchkosh, which is 5 realms that you have to cross before, from a very materialistic person, you become a very spiritual person who embodies light, love, and peace. So we'll talk more about that next month. So today I was listening to a podcast, basically it talked about, so it started with a question, and I think the audience was asked the question, how was your day today? And how was what kind of day would you like to have tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after? And so was your day good or bad? And then the second question is why, right? And basically the question is, would you like to have a bad day, right? And nobody probably would say that. But basically, why do we continue to have, these days which are not good days, right? And so basically, the question of the good day or bad day would depend on how people treated you, how at work or otherwise your colleagues or other people around you affected you or your happiness. And other circumstances, they come into play. So essentially, the thought process there was, there are two things that you need to do um, to have a good day. So one is like, let's think about, what are we doing here? So if we really look at it, our mind uh, essentially has become, so this author of the podcast is talking about, it's like mind has become like a balloon in the wind. And essentially all the happiness now has been outsourced to these external parties, people, circumstances, etc. And so your happiness essentially depends on these external elements. And so the question is, if we continue to do that, if we continue to outsource our happiness to these external entities, then how would we have a stable, state of happiness? Because, circumstances will change, people around you will continue to, at different, situations, would affect you and your happiness. So it kind of then, we for last few weeks we have been talking about pieces inside, right? We have to figure out inner pursuits like inner satsang, as Eddie was just talking about, to find the peace that is inside. So essentially, if we continue to look outwards instead of inwards, if we continue to think that, happiness, because happiness, so again, in this process, the second thing that the author talks about there is, until and unless you have a stable state of mind and you focus inwards, you will not, be able to have a stable, good days or happy days. And that kind of turns into Guru Maharaj's, one of the tenets in his philosophy was that inner happiness keeps increasing with this practice. So what happens is that till we continue to look outwards and the outer happiness, that happiness depends on external entities, people, and circumstances. When you turn inwards, and then it becomes inner happiness, and that inner happiness is more dependent on your inner state. Now, if you continue to do this practice, your inner state continues to rise, and hence your inner happiness continues to rise. So that's the, so there are a few concepts here. One is outer events and inner state. So we need to differentiate that. Until and unless you differentiate between outer events and inner states. So what happens, for example, in one of the talks I talked about that world is full of these events, circumstances, people, etc. And this outer set of events that we go through we react through our internal states. And if your inner state is low, there's one kind of reaction. If it's slightly higher, there's another kind of reaction. If it's high, really, and if you look at very, um, grounded um, yogis and gurus and, people who are very, uh, quote unquote, in higher conscious state, um, they react very, very, very differently. And quote unquote, almost there are people who won't react. They observe, but they don't react. They would do what is needed, but not react in the sense of, a spike in some emotion. So that's control on how you let your inner state be affected. So one thing is that why are we outsourcing our happiness to external circumstances and people? Why cannot we stop that? So how do we stop that? So the entire practice here is basically founded on the principle that if you focus inwards and hence try to find, call it peace or call it happiness within. And what do you need to do for that is lift your inner state up. When you do that, inner happiness or inner peace or inner strength continues to rise. So if you have inner happiness, inner peace, and inner strength, and you continue to increase that through this practice, there will be a day when you feel so strong internally that you're not affected by outer events as much as you did before. You will feel so complete within that you would rather, the feeling of love and giving and the ability to, so opposite of envying, opposite of feeling inadequate, and all those things will just, and I'm talking about these things, but what I have seen is the people who lift themselves up to higher states, they don't have to say that that's happening to them, in the sense that they don't have, they don't brag about it. They don't have to even say it out loud sometimes, because it just, they are peaceful, they want to stay peaceful, and they want to stay in that state. It's not about how they are, it's, yeah, I think it's more of feeling complete, peaceful, happy, strong, rather than, this. Actually, I just remembered one of my mentors used to say that, about talking about things versus actually feeling. So he used to say that, say if you, buy a drink which is like really, really good, and you're sipping it, you're enjoying it. When you are talking about it, you're not sipping it. So it's a interesting thing that when you're enjoying something, you're in that mode. When you're talking about it, when you're, and The other end of that is like when you're bragging about it, it's actually going in a different direction already. All right. On that note, let's you know, get into the practice that grounds you uh, within and you know, inward orientation, focus or concentration that helps you bring yourself to a higher state, and that helps inner strength, inner happiness, inner peace. Um, so all that is kind of bundled together. You know, it's uh, buy one get one free. You know, free. Anyway, so let's get into it. So um, sit in a relaxed posture. Because every time your body moves, your mind moves with it. We want to minimize that. And eyes lightly closed for the same reason that every time the sensory input, you know, comes in, it distracts your mind as well. So minimizing the outward distractions and focusing our mind on something extremely and absolutely positive, which is this transcendental energy in form of light that's right here, right now, and it's entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you're becoming completely immersed and totally immersed in this light. This basically you're becoming the light. You're becoming the energy. You are, you know, inside and out, just surrounded by this positive energy. There's nothing else but that. When you manifest this, uh, you know, transcendental energy in form of light, when you go deeper in this concentration, in this focus, through this practice, you know, so we start with music. Music helps concentration, then music fades away, and then deep silent meditation on this transcendental light uh, happens for several minutes. And during that process, when you go deeper into this meditation, you know, you forget about where you started, who you are, where you are. That's a state which can then leads into higher consciousness. So practice, 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 and that practice will actually take you to this deep state of inner happiness, inner peace, and inner strength. So let's start now. So happy Tuesday, everyone. Glad that we are here in Satsang. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I was talking about Warren being with us, and you know, he has um, had very tough fight with lots and lots of things, and you know, I think I think I would urge that all of us send all the strength and all the positive prayers, vibes, and energy uh, towards him. So, Warren, how are you?
I am doing better than excellent. How are you doing?
I I just wanted to hear that. Better than excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
I am doing wonderful.
Yeah. Post meditation, and I think um you know, the more and more I read, it's like every moment that we get to live with this positive energy and just you know it's um, it's becoming part of that consciousness that is a continuum. I was actually listening to something about consciousness that is all pervading everywhere, and you know becoming part of that. So I think the more and more this visual, when I was translating one of the chapters in this book, which I think if I was to translate in English would be um, Self Realization, a Journey. Uh, First chapter, the first concept is, we are the universe. And to understand that is so the spiritual journey from that perspective is that if we are the bubbles that are on the surface of this ocean, so the bubbles are temporary and that's our identity, but the when we start our spiritual journey we think we are the bubbles, but then when we totally and absolutely understand that our identity is actually the ocean itself. So bubbles exist, but then they, become part of the ocean, and that ocean of consciousness, that that ocean which is relative to this bubble, is infinite, so much more powerful, so much more permanent, so much more all pervasive. So to understand that we're not the bubble, but the ocean, I think is the spiritual journey. We've talked about that. So any thoughts, questions, comments? You can unmute, put it on the chat. Um, so Omkar, you want to say something?
Namaste, Bhaiya. No, I don't want to say something. You summarized everything in just one sentence, which is basically uncovering yourself. Yeah, I cannot even say that again. So that's very right said, and that's why, like I was just saying. But
So
I
Onkar, actually, I had been thinking, so, and I don't know if it is months or a year or more, actually, definitely more than a year. We discussed that, in the West, we have not really implemented the way satsang is um, like home for every satsangi, right? It's like um, what we experienced in India is like you so everybody who visited Guru Maharaj or any of the satsang leaders was like they found this home. And so we were thinking about creating this virtual home. And I'm actually thinking about um, creating actually a meditation room now, somewhere near here. Let's see. So it should be, you know, uh, so and that takes me to Eddie. You remember, like, in the whole slide of inner peace, the last point I had after talking about peace is inside, peace, so you need to look inside and so on and so forth. And then the easiest way to achieve peace is to find someone who's at peace, and then you will be there. And then one of the questions that was asked in one of the sessions was, so where do we find this person? And in one of my talks in India also, somebody asked me something very, very similar. And that session, Eddie, you said that Guru Maharaj created this satsang as this, so I changed my final bullet here, and thank you, Yuan, you're ahead of me. So I changed that bullet, which initially said that you just find someone like Guru Maharaj did, who, is at peace, and you will be at peace. But then finally, so I changed it to, and finally, the easiest way to find inner peace is to find a place where peace is intrinsic. A satsang, a guru who is at peace, or anyone who has risen himself or herself to embody the transcendental energy, that place is where peace. So, and I think if I had to add one more bullet to this, and I'm fairly convinced that when you are in satsang for real, you don't have to do anything to be at peace. So that's the actual place where you go and you are at peace. There's nothing else to do. So the question is, where is that place? So in a way, these things get very, very simple on one end, but very complex on the other end. So isn't that place within us? But then there is always a manifestation, outward manifestation. So, and and this is like, there's no one here who I would like to lie to. So I'm just being very honest. It's like I have been to churches, I have been to temples, I have been to places. Like one place that I can tell you one day, I think I'll take everyone who's ready to go there with me in a retreat. Northern Thailand, there is a place called Chiang Rai. It's used to be ages ago one of the capitals of the kingdoms there. Amazingly, so there are places where you just go and it's so serene, it's so incredibly peaceful. So I even sent a couple of people there to see if this was just me or this place has something, believe it or not. And I think I want to go and have a retreat there. So what I feel is that when somebody, like say we did this practice, so if you take one room and you practice, and I'm not talking days, I'm talking like really long practice, and the chances that you might actually, there must be people who constructed these churches and cathedrals and temples and mosques and all. So if they were really in deep, unhinged peace, the chances are that you will go there and find that peace. Well, I think I'll take a pause here. Eddie?
Yes, very interesting what you said about these temples and buildings, because that, in my understanding, is really the purpose of what they were for, is to be these places where, the energy that is imbibed in them helps to transform you. And so, yes, you can experience peace and so forth. So that they were really constructed for that purposes, given the architecture and all those things. It was very intentional. And then on the idea that we look for enjoyment in the physical world, or we look for things that will satisfy us, make us happy, make us have peace. It goes back to what Guru Maharaj said about attachments, and how having these attachments, we believe will bring us joy and happiness, but they really just bring us a lot of suffering. And so when we're able to release ourselves from those attachments, then we really start to experience, or we put ourselves on the path to experience joy and peace. And it's that point where we turn our attention from the outward things to the inward things, that we really get on that path. And that's kind of why we're here today, right? That's what Guru Maharaj said, is when you're ready to start to work from the realm of the mind, then this system of yoga becomes very important to you and for you. And so that's why we find ourselves here today. We have sort of made that turn, and now we're working inwards on our inner selves to help expand our consciousness and lift our conscious up to that ocean of peace that you mentioned. But that because much of the world is still looking externally for joy and peace through the things that they desire. But we, for the most part, have made that turn inward, and that's the first and most important step. And I think until that happens, you can you will essentially still be in that world of suffering and without any hope per se. You still have to get to that point to where you realize that it's not out here, it's not in the outer world that I seek, it's in the inner world. And when you make that turnaround, that's the big difference. And that's kind of why, as an organization, we're here. So just wanted to make mention of that.
All right. On that note, let light, love, and Peace be with you. Let's find inner happiness, inner peace, and inner strength within us. And this practice, definitely takes us there. So let's keep practicing. And we'll see you all here soon. So thank you. And take care.
Thank you, G. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Namaste.
Namaskar.